Cuba's next, by the way, but pretend I didn't say that, please. Please, please, please disregard that statement. Thank you very much. Cuba's next. They lied about 3 days ago. I said, yeah, we're negotiating with this. We are not negotiating. Turned out I was right. So we had 10 ships, and then people realized we were actually negotiating. They have to open up the Strait of Hormuz. I'm so sorry. Such a terrible mistake. The fake news will say, he accidentally said, no, there's no accidents with me. No. Well, we had that with the Gulf of Mexico. Remember, we won the court case in about 1 hour, and Google Maps changed the name, and it's now the Gulf of America. China used to take big advantage of us, but they don't take advantage of us. I didn't put tariffs on China. The tariffs got too high. I got a little carried away. So I got them down. I've always had a good relationship with President Xi, except for the COVID situation, because I wasn't thrilled about that. MAGA wants strength, and they want victory. They want success, and that's what we have. And we have been very, very successful. You know, when I went into Venezuela, I said, because I campaigned on the fact peace through strength, you wouldn't have to use. I built this great military. I said, you'll never have to use it, but sometimes you have to use it. And Cuba's next, by the way, but pretend I didn't say that, please. Pretend I didn't say that. Please, 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 media, please disregard that statement. Thank you very much. Cuba's next. So despite the radical left Democrat shutdown, we will continue to defend the sovereign borders of the United States of America, and we'll defend our allies and your ally. You didn't know they were that tough, did you? You didn't know. They were pretty tough, Iran. Not tough anymore. We're crushing Iran's currently as we speak. I just looked. We had another big day. We hit them. They don't know what's happening. Remember this. They lied about 3 days ago. I said, yeah, we're negotiating with this. We are not negotiating. They're being hit so hard. Anybody would be negotiating. They are negotiating. They're begging to make a deal. They're begging to make a deal. Turned out I was right. They were negotiating, which they admitted 2 days later. And in order to make up for their misstatement, they said, we're going to send you 8 ships of oil. And the following day I saw, this is 2 days ago, I saw on one of the networks, very strange, there were 8 ships of oil coming out of Iran. And then they actually said, we're going to add an extra 2. And they added an extra 2, so we had 10 ships. And then people realized we were actually negotiating. We're negotiating now, and it'd be great if we could do something, but they have to open it up. They have to open up the Strait of Hormuz. Excuse me for this. I'm so sorry. Such a terrible mistake. The fake news will say, he accidentally said, no, there's no accidents with me, not too many. If there were, we'd have a major story. No, well, we had that with the Gulf of Mexico. Remember the Gulf of Mexico? And one day I said, why is it the Gulf of Mexico? We have 92% of the area around it. They have 8%, really less than 8%. But for 350 years, it was good. You know, they were there 100 years longer than us, Mexico. They're at 350, we're at 250. And I said, often asked myself, why do we call it the Gulf of Mexico? It seems like we dominate. Well, when I checked, it was more than 92%. So I announced, I wouldn't say Mexico was thrilled, but I announced that from now on, the Gulf of Mexico is going to be called the Gulf of America. And it took about 1 hour, and it was done. Everybody, the president called me. She's really a nice person, too. I like her a lot. She called up. She had the most beautiful voice. She's a very elegant woman, has a beautiful, beautiful voice. She goes, President, tell me, this is not so. No, it's so. Oh, it's so. And then Google Maps changed it. We won the court case in about 1 hour, and Google Maps changed the name. And it's now the Gulf of America, which it should be in all fairness.
So precisely, you will be going to China in May?
Yes, I'll be going. We had a meeting, and I called up President Xi. I get along really well with him. He even approved the TikTok deal. He said, I will not approve that deal to other people, not to me. And I thought it was good if we could keep it going. I like it because I'm the #1 person on TikTok. Can you believe it? I put a chart up there, another chart. You want to put another chart up? Like we did with fake news CNN. I said, let's see what happens. So we got a group of very big investors, the biggest investors, and they really wanted to buy TikTok. And I did very well on TikTok in the election. I won the youth. I did tremendously well with youth because of TikTok and other things, certain interviews, et cetera. But I did very well. And I sort of developed a liking for it. And I was told that it will never be approved by China. You had to get approval. And I didn't really care. And then it got to a point where all of these very successful people were willing to pay a lot of money for TikTok. And I called up President Xi. I said, do me a favor. Will you approve it, please? It's good. It's good for China, good for us, good for everybody. Would you do me a favor? I know you said it was a hard no. And I said, I know you said no to everybody, but you haven't said no to me. Would you do me a favor? Would you approve it? It's good for China. It's good for us. You have a lot of big investors. They're investing in China also. They have a lot of money in China. I would appreciate it. He said, okay, I'll do it. Nice. It was very nice. And they bought TikTok, and it's going to do good. And it was done with the consent of China. We get along well with China. China used to take big advantage of us, but they don't take advantage of us anymore. Now we compete very nicely with China. We put tariffs on China. The tariffs got too high. At one point, they were up to 145%. I was saying, nope, put tariffs on that, put tariffs on for fentanyl, add 20%. And then one day I said, what's China paying now? Sir, they're paying 145%. I said, 145? That's crazy. I got a little carried away. So I got them down to 100. Then I took them down a little more. And I'll never forget, I took them down a little bit from 145 to 100. And the fake news said, Donald Trump collapses in China. They're paying 100%. Nobody pays 100. So anyway, we got it down. And now we have a great business relationship with China. I've always had a good relationship with President Xi, except for the COVID situation, because I wasn't thrilled about that. He wasn't thrilled either, by the way, but I wasn't thrilled. But I have great respect for him as a leader. And we had a deal. I was going there, and I didn't want to go during the war. I said, look, we have a thing called a war, or as they would rather say, a military operation. This is for legal reasons. I say military, because as a military operation, I don't need any approvals. As a war, you're supposed to get approval from Congress, something like that. So I call it a military operation. But we have that going along, and I'd like to delay it. So we delayed it a few weeks, so I'll be going very shortly.
三立新闻电视加网路2026全新大晋级，中午12点半，网路 YouTube 直播94要客诉许贵雅发烧议题，加崩国立跨新闻。下午2点到4点，前进新台湾王举金及时解析新闻议题，政局脉动。晚间8点到10点，新台派上线李正浩，政治、国际、军事全方面观点解读。晚间10点到11点，关我什么事？陈斐娟，股市、财经、消费结合 AI 知识链。频道网路再升级，台湾优先看三立。